Hello and welcome back to this course. We are still on our Python programming series, and in this module we are going to be working with our data structure. So for this very video we are going to be working with the list data structure like we mentioned in our overview, and we are going to start by defining what a list is in Python. So I'm going to write a comment and I'll paste this very simple definition of what a list is. So list in Python is an ordered mutable collection of items. So like I mentioned before, all of the data structures in Python are like containers that hold multiple data, right? So they can hold same type of data, different types of data, and they can even host another iterable, that is another data structure as part of their data content. Okay, so now we are going to explain these keywords one after the other. So it says that it is an ordered and mutable collection of items. So when you say ordered, it means that when you add in your collection of data in your list, the data that you collected are ordered. So just like we saw in the case of string data type, it has a zero-based index. So the same thing is obtainable in the list data structure. You have your data numbered accordingly, starting from index 0. The first member of that list will always have index 0. So as long as that item remains as the first member of that list, it is always going to be index 0. I believe we have seen this when we were working with data types. So now, how do we declare a list? You declare a list or you create a list either by using square brackets or by using this list constructor on your object. So we are going to practice these two. So we are going to create a list by using square brackets and then also by using this list constructor. So now we are going to move our cursor to the next line and we are going to create a variable and call it my list. So now this list, I am going to create it as a collection of probably a student's biodata that I need. So I'm going to collect the name and the age and probably the height and the nationality. And what again would I need from a student? Maybe the weight or whatever reason, and then probably the gender. So let's say I was requested to get a list of what I want to collect from my students, right? So this is a list. So if I use the type operator on this object, I am going to print like we did in our former videos, type of my list. So now I'm going to run this. So now it gives us this class that is of class list. So we can repeat it like we did for our data types, and we can check whether the type of my list is equals list. So if it is, it will return true for us. So it says true. So another one that we did, we use the is instance method. So I'm going to pass in this is instance, and I'm going to open my braces and I'm going to pass in two items. So first one is going to be my list, and the second one is the data type that's or data structure that I'm expecting that it is. So we can just run this now. So and this time we have true for the both cases. So now we can see that a list has been created. Now another way that we can create a list data type or a list object is by creating maybe like a normal object, and then we can now use the list constructor on that object. So I'm going to practice with probably a set of string, because you can actually convert a string into a list. So I'm going to set this string variable and I'm going to set it to just a piece of string Python, and I want to convert this Python to a list. How I do it is that I'm going to call it a new name. So I'm going to call it new list is equals, I will write that list constructor, open my parentheses and close it, and then pass in that variable, and I will save it. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to print the value of that new list. So let's save and print. And this time around, we have this Python strings all separated by comma. And then we have the coily, and then we have the square braces wrapped around the Python strings. Okay, so now we've created a list with that Python string and by using the list constructor. Okay, so now for instance, I create a range of numbers. So let's say range of numbers. So I can say that numbers that are in range between the range of 10 to 20. So if you print this number now, you're just going to get a range. So you are not going to get the actual numbers that are in between 10 and 20. So as you can see here, we have range. So I'll bring out my terminal so that you see it very well. You have just a range. So, but if I now convert it to a list, so, and I'm going to call this list now number list. So I'll just add it here so that it will print automatically. And I'm going to take my cursor to the next line from there and create the number list variable underscore list. And I'm going to set it to that number. So number. And what before I do that, I add my list constructor to this, and now we can see that we have all the numbers that are in between 10 and 20. And remember that when you are using this range method, the last number will not be included. So if you want 20 to be included, you're going to come here and add 21. So now, by now, you should see 20 on the console. So now, these are the ways we can create our list objects. So the next thing that we are going to be looking at is how do we access the indexes of that list, right? So we already know that this list is a zero-based indexed object, right? So now, if for any reason you want to, probably this list is so lengthy that you don't even know and you don't have access to it, and you don't know how many items that you have in a list. So what you can do is to call the length function on that list. So I'm going to call it my list. So that is the name of that variable. And if you print it out, it should tell you how many items that are found in that list. So I'm going to comment all of that print statements out so that we know what we are working with at this time. So now, if I print it, well, Python says that we have 6 items on that list. If you have the length of your list to be n and you want to know the indexes of each of them, one thing that is sure is that the number 1 item is of index 0 and the last item is index 5. Now remember that the index of the last item is usually the length minus 1, right? So now I know the length. Let's say the length happens to be 200 and I do not know the exact, and I want to access maybe the 122nd index. So how do I access it, or how do I even know what the indexes of all the items that are in the list? So what I can do is that I can write a for loop that will loop over all of them. So I'm going to write for x. So you can, this x is just like a variable that you are assigning to each member of the list. So you are going to, what you are doing is that you are calling a name x, age x, height x. Each and every one of them, you are giving them the value x, right? So you are saying that for x in the range of the length, right? Remember that the length is 6. So the length of this my list, then you come and write your semicolon, your colon here, and we are going to assign to now get each and every uh, uh, item on that list. So we are going to say that item, right, is, well, my list, and then we open a square bracket and we pass x. So remember that x is going to be all the numbers that are in the range of 0 to 6. So x is going to be a 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Good. So now, and each member, if you want to get the first member of the list, you are going to just call the my list and pass in the index. So the indexes are here, and whenever you call this item, now what is going to come out for you is the actual member or the actual item in that particular index. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to print. What do we want to print? We are going to format the string. We are going to write f, and we are going to write that index is that. So index is x, right? So index, we are going to have 0 to 5, and then comma, and or we can just add any character that we want to print, and then we write that item equals item. So is this item that is here now that is being referenced. So right now, I believe this is a simple way, that a simple method that you can use to access the individual member of the individual items on the list, or and their indexes. So if you do not want to add this index is, or you do not even want to add this formatting, you can just print x and item. So the two things that you need here is x and item. So all of these things is just to make it come out in a very in a more formatted way, in a more presentable way, right? So I'm going to save this and then I'll run this code. So we can see. So now I meant to like put a semicolon here. So So now, so we are saying that index is 0 and item is name, index is 1, item is age, and the rest of that. So this is a very simple way that you can use to check the indexes of your list object. So thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one.